Hello YouTube. Hey, I've got some requests to do some more scouting videos. So that's what I'm going to do with this video. I'm going to make a series of these. Here's what I'm planning on doing. I still have a couple weekends that I can hunt. So this is probably going to pan out over the next few months. But what I'll do with this video series is I'm going to go through my whole process for finding an area to hunt. We'll pick out an area I've never been to before, I've never hunted before, how I zero in, what I'm looking for, how I plan to go and do my first scouting trip. And when I go and do a scouting trip, I probably put as much planning into that as I do when I plan a hunting trip. I'm very meticulous about identifying exactly where I'm going to walk, where I want to spend my time looking at, what particular objectives I want to accomplish on this hunting trip. So I'll go through that whole process as much as I can, and then based on your feedback, we'll take this wherever you want to go. I am going to cover up all the geo data points that might give it away, and because I've had some bad experiences where, unfortunately, on the internet, you do have people that lurk and want to try to find out, where some people are hunting, successful hunters are hunting. And a couple years ago, I posted quite a bit of detail in some of my hunts, and that following season, I had more company all around me. In fact, there was one tree I had hunted for 5 or 6 years, and I've never seen another hunter in that area. That year, I found a tree stand in the exact tree that I had prepped it and primed for that area. So I'm real picky about doing this. I normally don't even like to use normal aerial photographs, but for this case, I think I've kind of taken out the details enough to where we can go through this, and I can show you how I will identify a public land area. All these areas will be public land, and then how I plan for a scouting trip. And then when I actually go do the scouting trip, I'll take these maps and stuff, and I'll film as much as I can of some of the things we discuss as we go through these planning videos. So this is video 1. Video 2 will be coming up real soon, and I'll go through actually using the maps and how I mark them up and stuff. And one thing I want to point out is I don't take any of this haphazardly. All right, the first step is obviously you have to find a place. So I will select a state that I want to hunt. I will then start researching all the public land areas that I want, or that that are in that state, and I'll start narrowing my selection down. I try to get away from major metropolis areas, although some that are really close to major metropolis areas often get overlooked because they're so close. But I tend to stay away from them. I look for smaller chunks that probably won't receive a lot of attention, and then I also look for areas that are very hard to access. So once I pick out the public wildlife management area, or the state land, or the national forest, or whatever I'm hunting, I will then start focusing on specific areas within that public land area. And what I'm specifically looking for is, once again, I want to look at access. I know I can find the deer, that the deer are going to be present. I'm more concerned with, okay, what don't I have control over? And one of those factors is the human pressure. So I tend to look for areas that are isolated or have waterways that have to be crossed, overlooked areas, those places that kind of get close to parking lots or freeways or right next to parking areas. Those tend to get overlooked, so I might identify those. But basically, the first step is I look for a wildlife management area. Then I start highlighting on that particular wildlife management area the areas that I perceive will get the least amount of human pressure. Once I do that, then I start looking around the exterior private land, and I'm looking for access once again. I'm looking for food sources. I'm looking for agriculture fields, maybe that are plowed on some of the topo maps or whatever. I'm looking for ditches, fence rows, and stuff that might be travel routes for the bucks that are coming off of private land back onto public land. So I get a good picture of not only what's on the wildlife management area where I can hunt, but I also want to know what's out beyond it. Okay, and once I do that, then I will actually go and get the aerial photographs. Everyone knows how to do that. If you don't, go just Google it. It's pretty easy to do. I then print them out and I start marking them up. And once again, I'm very meticulous about this. So what am I marking on these aerial photographs? I'm marking exactly where I'm going to park. I will use blue lines to mark where I'm going to walk in the morning, how I'm going to access the property, what particular areas I want to pass through, because not all land's productive. And I don't want to waste a lot of time in areas that I know are going to probably not hold a lot of bucks. And I want to focus all the time that I can on those highly productive areas, or at least ones that should hold a good buck. So I'll use a blue line to kind of mark where I'm walking through. I'll use a yellow circle line to identify any kind of feature where I know bucks like to bed at, whether it's a small elevation rise, whether it's an oxbow in a creek or a lake. It can be a pinch point. It can be a point jutting out into a CRP field. So any of those predominant features that I like to look for buck sign. And then I'll also use yellow stars to identify any area where the natural contours, features, or whatever, pinch those areas or create funnels, because that's areas I'm going to focus on perhaps when they're cruising more. And then what I'll do is I'll put a red line to mark exactly where I'm going to walk in the afternoon, because usually what I'll do, I'll focus on one area in the morning. I'll go grab lunch while I'm out there, and then maybe cross a lake or a creek and hit another area and come back a different way back to my truck. That's just how I go about doing this. But once again, before I ever leave to go scouting, I have maps marked up to kind of give me exactly what I want to focus on during that day. All right, so this will wrap up video 1. I'll go ahead and knock out video 2 here pretty quickly, and what video 2 is going to concentrate on is actually how I mark these maps up, what I'm looking for, how I go about planning my routes, and all those kind of things. And I'll actually show you on the actual aerial photographs. All right? Leave me comments and stuff below. And like I said, what I'll do with this video series is, as you guys have questions or want to see something, post them on the videos. And I'll do my best when we actually get out into the field to cover those areas, or even while we're doing the planning phase, how I go about doing that. So, if you want to see how I go about doing something, put it in the comment section and I'll try to address that. All right.